Hello, welcome to Get Your Mind On. I'm Lori Stoss. Do you have an environment at work that fosters trust between team members? If you're a manager or leader, let's take a look to see what does your team look like. Do you have a team that has high productivity and morale, lots of great ideas flowing, lots of teamwork, lots of people working together and accomplishing a goal together? If so, congratulations. You're creating that environment for your team. Or you might have a team where there's an environment of people withholding information, maybe lots of gossip going on, a lot of individuals looking out for themselves, a lot of insecurity, a lot of fear of people not speaking up, and maybe you're just stagnant. That might be where your team is at, or maybe they're a little bit in the middle, or maybe you're part of one of those teams. So when we think about as a manager or leader building an environment of trust, what does that really mean? Well, we can't just demand our people to trust each other, right? We can set an expectation, but there's nothing really we can do and say, hey, I need you to trust each other. Well, that takes some time. That all comes from the individual themselves to think about what that trust means. So our goal is to how can we create that trusting environment? We've spent some time talking about the results of an environment: high productivity, high profitability, high results for organizations, better relationships. We want all that. Remember, it's not just a soft skill. It's a direct business impact. So when you think about what does it take to create that team, that environment of trust, let's talk about where we should go. First, it starts with you. First, you have to remember, we talked about trusting yourself last time. Think about, do you trust yourself as a manager? Do you feel like you have the capability to manage and you're confident in your management ability? But also there's this piece of a manager that we have to extend the hand of trust first. So I want you to think about your team members, and do you really trust your team members? If you don't trust someone on your team, you can't model that behavior of what it's like to trust someone. Now, some of us may have been given a team as a manager. We do reorganizations through territories and within our business lines. And so we might have acquired a team. And trust takes time to build over time. But it's still your responsibility to lead that trust in that relationship. So first you need to look in the mirror and think about all of your team members and think about what is that trusting relationship you have with each one of them. If there isn't trust, then you need to work on building that trust. Maybe if we have a low performer, you have to think about, gosh, I don't trust him. Well, if you don't trust him to do their job, then what does that do? And others probably may not trust them either. Your team may not start trusting you because if it's a low performer that's affecting everyone and the outcomes of the organization, obviously then they're thinking they don't start trusting you because you're not taking action against that individual. So it's really difficult sometimes for us to be a manager, especially when we're working with a team and maybe some of those acquired team members over time, making the right decisions with them in terms of building that trust. Give everybody an opportunity, but really take some time to think about what's that strategy to build the trust with each individual. That's going to be very key to your relationship with them. So when we think about trusting each person, then we also have to think about what if we add new team members to our team. Hiring is the most important piece, selecting the right individual. And it's hard to build trust because you're just getting to know someone, but really take some time with that person. I remember when I worked with a manager, and I should have known at that time that that wasn't the right manager for me, when I told him through the pre-hire process that I wanted to spend time with him. And he said, yeah, let's have a phone call. And I thought, that's not really what I meant. I really wanted to physically spend time with him to get to know him, to see what that trusting relationship would be like. Well, and unfortunately with that role for me, it ended up that I left because that relationship was not a trusting relationship. So I learned from that opportunity. So when you're hiring new team members, make sure you take some time to build trust and spend time with them just physically, getting to know each other a little bit better. So what does it mean when we don't trust our team? What does that look like in the environment? Well, first, it looks like micromanagement. If you don't trust your team members, I know a lot of us may struggle with giving something away because it's quicker for us just to do it ourselves, or they're not going to do it right. And so we don't delegate it. And when we're not delegating, that's the first sign that you probably don't trust that person. And if you delegate and then you're micromanaging them and their work, obviously there's a trust issue there too. So that is one sign with the team when you don't have trust. The second sign is control. There's no reason for you to have command and control over your team. If you trust your people, you just need to let them do their work, set the expectations, and hold them accountable. That's your job. And then finally, sometimes there's this, with all of our work environments and flexible schedules, we really want to keep our employees engaged. And some of us might be a little bit rigid about the times people can work. And it's kind of that, quote, butts and seats mentality that if I don't know they're there, I don't know if they're working or not. Well, that becomes a trust issue. If that's the case, if you set expectations and they're meeting those expectations and deadlines, with a lot of our younger generations today, they like that flexible time, and you have to do what works for your environment. But sometimes we may have that mentality that we're not letting people do that because we don't trust them. So that would be a first thing I would look at as well. So those are some things that what it looks like when we think of that environment of lack of trust. So let's shift to, well, then how do I build an environment of trust, Lori? What does it take to get there? There's really 5 key things I want you to focus on. First is, if we don't have a team that's trusting each other, we first have to understand, why are we here? Create a common goal. What are we here to accomplish together? Because if we all have something in common, that's in common, that we're a team here to accomplish something. The second thing is everybody wants to be a part of something. Everybody wants their responsibilities and know that their job matters every day. So I want to know what I do makes a difference for everybody else. So we all need to have our areas of responsibility. So that's the second thing. The third thing is create a safe environment. That might sound soft, but at the end of the day, if people don't feel that they can fail, feel that they can take a chance, feel that they can voice their opinion and be open, they're not going to feel safe. They're going to feel like they're in fear every day. If you have a fear-based environment, that's the farthest we can get from trusting each other. So create that environment of what it feels like to have a safe environment for them to come to every day. And fourth, think about celebrate the successes. Sometimes we all get wrapped up in our work and we're very busy. Celebrate success, little and big. We want to try to bring our team back together to a trusting environment. Just start with little things. Bring people together. Do fun activities, whatever it might be. You get a new sale, whatever, celebrate it. Celebrate something and just be able to make people feel, again, a part of something and celebrate those successes. And finally, number 5, be their champion, both as a team and as individuals. So I want you to think this week for Positive Charge about what kind of environment you're creating for your employees. So number 1, I want you to take this little test that we're going to give you, or this little checklist. Number 1 is, do I trust myself? Do I trust each of my team members? Do I share information that will be helpful to others? Do I follow through on my commitments? Do I act with integrity? Do I treat everyone with respect? And do I give open and honest feedback? If you can answer yes to those, you're obviously creating a very trusting environment for your employees. If not, you're going to maybe want to spend some time working on one thing at a time just to get a little bit better. As leaders, we can't make people trust each other, but we can create an environment of trust where people can come together and you have their best interest in mind, so we can all accomplish something together. Creating this environment will give us high morale, high productivity, and of course, great relationships to accomplish the outcomes that we have in mind. Thank you for joining us today, and remember to get your mind on.